Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. We will chant Om once together. Synchronize the chanting of Om with your exhalation. Breathe in. Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavaditamastu ma vitvishavahay. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Gently open your eyes. We will chant from verses 11 to 15 of chapter 3. Devan bhavayatanena,
Devan bhavayatanena,
te deva bhavayantu vaha,
te deva bhavayantu vaha,
parasparam bhavayantaha,
parasparam bhavayantaha,
Shreyah paramavapsyatha,
Shreyah paramavapsyatha,
Ishtan bhogan hi vo devaha,
Ishtan bhogan hi vo devaha,
dasyante yajna bhavitaha,
Dasyante yajna bhavitaha,
Tairdattana pradayaibhyaha,
Tairdattana pradayaibhyaha,
Yo bhungte stena eva saha,
Yo bhungte stena eva saha,
Yajna shishtashinah santaha,
Yajna shishtashinah santaha,
Muchyante sarvakilbishaihi,
Muchyante sarvakilbishaihi,
Bhunjate te tvagam papaha,
Bhunjate te tvagam papaha,
Ye pachantyatmakaranat,
Ye pachantyatmakaranat,
Annad bhavanti bhutani,
Annad bhavanti bhutani,
Parjanyadanna sambhavaha,
Parjanyadanna sambhavaha,
Yajnat bhavati parjanyaha,
Yajnat bhavati parjanyaha,
Yajna karma samudbhavaha,
यज्ञः कर्मसमुद्भवः
कर्म ब्रह्मोद्भवं विद्धि
कर्म ब्रह्मोद्भवं विद्धि
ब्रह्माक्षरसमुद्भवम्
ब्रह्माक्षरसमुद्भवम्
तस्मात् सर्वगतं ब्रह्म
तस्मात् सर्वगतं ब्रह्म
नित्यं यज्ञे प्रतिष्ठितम्
नित्यं यज्ञे प्रतिष्ठितम्।
Hari Om, and a very good day to all of you. So we are in this verse number 15, wherein he says, Karma Brahma Udbhavam Viddhi. Know that action springs from Brahma. And then he says, Brahma Akshara Samudbhavam. Brahma originates from the imperishable. See, these are essentially truths presented in its pure form. No adulteration whatsoever. As the conditionings of the mind sets in, the truth gets distorted. So if you take any art, for example, let's take classical music, Indian classical music, South Indian classical music, Carnatic, or we can take North Indian also, Hindustani. The principle is the same. So you have so many ragas. Supposing you take one particular raga. Now, a very well trained classical musician will approach that raga in a very pure way. Every raga is made up of various swaras, notes. Now, how effectively a musician is able to delve into the depth of those swaras, that determines whether the output is going to be very pure or whether the output will be modified, will become light. You know, in the good old days, in classical music, the training was not given like how it is given today. You have to go and learn from a master in classical music, and he'll just make you sing Sa Re Ga Ma Pa Dha Ni Sa for about a year or so. Just the plain notes, so that you fully absorb the spirit behind those swaras. Just taking up one swara and practicing that for a month or so. Now that is music in its purest form. But not everybody can appreciate that, because it is at a very high level. So thereafter they modified it a little bit, they relativized it, made it a little more light. So then more people started appreciating music. So if you take a verse like this where he says, Karma Brahma Udbhavam Vidhi Akshara Brahma Akshara Samudbhavam. Now this is like classical music in its purest form. Very few people will be able to relate to this. Actually, such geniuses in classical music, the yesteryear geniuses, they used to take up one raga and keep giving the alapana. That is, initially they'll play they'll sing the raga in a, we can say just in a humming way, that that will actually tell us whether that person has gone deep into the raga, whether that person has the capacity to go into the depth of the raga or not. So good old days, like singers like, for example, Madurai Mani Iyer in Carnatic, or if you take Hindustani, Bade Ghulam Ali Saab. Now these people, they will just sing the alapana, just the humming of that raga for quite a long time. Nowadays many classical musicians either skip that portion or it's very short. But if you listen to that, if you're able to relate to what they used to give, that will take you to the subtlest level with respect to that music. See here, remember, they were all masters in their fields. We are not talking of spiritual mastery. So just as this principle is there in classical music, it's there with respect to spirituality also. So when we talk of God, now everyone has his or her opinion. If you carefully see, it is only that person's opinion, conditioned by that person's mind, conditioned by that person's belief systems. Now when you keep on doing sadhana, you will drop all these belief systems and you will start exploring what the truth is. That is when you are called a sadhak. A sadhak is one who explores life. He wants to find out what is that ultimate truth. So when you keep on subtilizing your personality by dropping off the various conditionings, then at the final step, you merge with that infinite reality. Your consciousness merges with that infinite reality. And when that happens, you experience the truth as it is, not with your mind, because your mind is limited. When compared to the body, the mind is more subtle. The mind has more powers. But from the ultimate standpoint, the mind itself is limited. So the mind has so many thoughts, so many emotions today. Now all these thoughts and emotions are springing from the relative realm. But when you take the God principle, the supreme power that belongs to the absolute realm. So the mind and the intellect, they lack the capacity to penetrate the infinite. When it comes to the relative realm, they will be extremely useful. But if you want to experience and gain the highest wisdom of the infinite, the mind or the intellect is no longer useful. They will take you up, they'll prepare you well up to that final point, and then you will have to drop them and merge with the infinite. That is when you will be able to experience the truth, experience the infinite in its purest form. See, even when we use the word God or infinite or any word we use, that is also a limitation only. To talk about it is also not possible. That is why what these great yogis say is that whatever is given by these masters, they are actually not the infinite in totality, but they are only pointers, indicators. And when you go on reflecting on them, you will hit at the infinite. Now, once a master experiences the infinite in its pristine purity, and then he starts radiating that infinite energy. Now, if a student is able to capture that energy and receive it, that's the highest blessing which a student can receive. From that state, when these great yogis communicate the truth, no doubt the tools which they are using are again limited. Words, the emotions, the thoughts, but it is backed by that infinite energy, by that experience. So then whatever they give become pointers, they become indicators. When you start reflecting on those pointers, a time would come where you will go beyond all these words, even what we are seeing here, and you will merge with the infinite. Actually, even the Yoga Sankirtan sadhana materials have been made along the same principles only. See, what the yogis experience in deep meditation cannot be communicated. So that experience has been kind of indicated, or we can say grossified into certain sound vibrations. We have used the tool of music, and that is how these sadhana materials which are available to you have been structured. Now, merely by listening to that, now immediately you will not become a yogi. What is the purpose of that? See, the deep experience, the highest experience, the various spiritual experiences at the higher realm are there. Now, for you to directly get that is very difficult. So, these materials have been created, the Yoga Sankirtan material, that the song, we can't even say it's a song, those audio materials are backed up by the experience of the infinite. This is what you need to note. So no doubt if you take those audio materials, they are limited only. But what is backing that? It's the infinite energy. So when you keep doing your meditation sadhana with it on a daily basis, when you keep listening to that in the prescribed format, slowly, you will go beyond the words, you will go beyond the musical part, and it will automatically take you to the energy, and that energy will start becoming more and more subtle, and finally you will experience the infinite. So the materials which have been given to you are gross. They have their limitations. And the tools which you are going to use in order to do the sadhana, which is your own mind, which is your own intellect, they are also limited. But since those sadhana materials are backed by their infinite energy, they have the ability to go on subtilizing your mind, subtilizing your intellect. We can call both mind and intellect as mind, just for our analysis. Actually, the word manaha also means intellect, incidentally. The Sanskritam word mana, that means the mind, emotions, it also means the intellect, even though that dimension is not commonly used. So your mind becomes more and more subtle, more and more refined. And as it becomes more refined, how you relate to God, how you relate to the infinite will become more subtle. Initially, you will think that God is there only in that particular idol which you are worshipping, or God is there only in a place of worship. You may think that we have to do these rituals in this particular way, otherwise it is no longer spiritual. That's how you will start off with. But as you keep doing the deeper sadhana of yoga sankirtan meditation, your mind will become more refined. Then you begin to you begin to experience God in a more subtle way. It is not merely in that idol, it is present everywhere. That supreme power is there in everyone. The supreme power is there in all the directions. Inside, outside. See, this is how the Upanishads are structured. When they talk about the infinite, they will say, God is far away, the infinite is far away, the infinite is very near, the infinite is outside, the infinite is inside. Now, if a common person reads that, he'll say, what nonsense is this? So many contradictions within one verse. There is no contradiction if you understand the spirit behind what they are saying. So the mind goes on getting refined, and then finally you get to a state of no mind. No mind means you go beyond the mind. You drop all the finite equipments and your consciousness merges with the infinite. And it is at that time that the infinite is experienced fully in its purest form. So all the expressions, the wisdom which these great masters gave out, they are not mere intellectual statements. They are not mere emotional utterances. The source of these statements comes from a state of no mind, that infinite energy. So that is why you will feel as if you have understood this, but next minute you will feel, oh, I have not understood this. And whether you understand it or not, it keeps on attracting you. If you just read the translation, just the verse, know that action springs from Brahma. Now, what is it that you understand? For example, Brahma, the Supreme Brahman. You have not experienced that, yet that keeps pulling you, that keeps attracting you. Why? Because essentially you are that Brahma, you are that infinite. You are not aware of that today. Then when you read, Brahma originates from the Akshara, imperishable. Whether you understand what is Brahma, what is Akshara, imperishable and all that, it still attracts a sadhak. You feel like repeating these again and again. As your penetrative capacity increases, this will start giving you so much of energy. So whatever concept which you have about God, that is very limited. It's limited to your belief systems. It's limited to what others have told you. It's limited to the way your mind feels and thinks. So you should not stop your quest there. That is only a starting point. It is very funny where people talk of the superiority of gods. My God is superior to your God. That is the most absurd statement to make. Whether Vishnu is superior or Shiva is superior. A person who has gone into the real depth will not waste his time in all these kinds of discussions, because that is really not getting you anywhere spiritually. So the focus of this verse, the hidden agenda we can say of this verse, is not merely to explain to you what God is, Brahma is and all that. No. It is to get you on this path of deconditioning. When you read such verses and when you pause and when you try to absorb that energy, now that is when you begin to realize that whatever your concepts are all limited. Some master may have said something which may have suited that particular time, that particular audience to whom he was talking. Now you just take that and keep quoting. Now what is your experience? What is your sadhana? That is what you should look into. So the more we get into this verse, the more humble you will become automatically, because you will begin to see your own limitations, the limitations of your finite equipments, the body, the mind, the intellect. All these equipments are limited in various degrees. So you will use them effectively, but you will not get stuck with them. You will know that this is not the ultimate. You will keep on progressing. You will not stop till you merge with the infinite. So when you use the physical body to do sadhana, that is called karma yoga. When you use your emotions to do sadhana, that is called bhakti yoga. When you use your intellect to do sadhana, that is called Jnana Yoga. So the various yogas have evolved because you have these various equipments. But these yogas, these sadhanas are meant to subtleize your equipments, not for you to conclude and say this alone, this is my path, and your path is useless, my path. It's not for all those discussions. So a true sadhak will use this verse for contemplation and deeper meditation, not for arguments, not for debates. This is so important because every verse has a purpose. And you need to understand what is the purpose of that particular verse. So when you hear this word Brahma, now Brahman, now it means God. So your belief of what God is what will come first. So if you truly want to get into this verse, you should set aside your limiting belief and you should try to absorb the energy of what he is giving, which is coming from the infinite source, not from the finite beliefs. Some people ask this question, "Sir, do you believe in God?" I say no. So they get surprised. So you're a non-believer of God, you're an atheist. I said no. Where did I say I'm a non-believer? So then they get very confused. "Sir, are you a believer or a non-believer?" I said neither. I neither believe in God nor do I not believe in God, because God is not something to be believed in. God is that supreme power to be experienced. See, generally you believe in something which you don't experience only. Supposing I were to come and ask you, do you believe that you are watching this session now? You will say, no, it's not a question of belief. I know I'm watching, this is my experience. So belief is one tool which the yogis used effectively to bring that single pointedness of the mind. But the problem is, today people have stopped their sadhana. Yes, they just read the scriptures. Oh, this is what God is. They stopped. Or they read the Puranas. They either read or they hear from someone. Oh, okay. I have heard all the various leelas of God, and then they are happy. That's it. No more sadhana. But if you understand that all these are only tools for you to get to that highest experience, then you will not stop your sadhana. You will not stop your spiritual practice. So a yogi will say, I neither believe in God nor am I not believing in God. I experience that. You call it God, you call it truth, you call it supreme power, you call it Vishnu, you call it Shiva, you call it Father in heaven, whatever it is. In different religions they call that infinite with different names, Doesn't matter. So this verse is a direct experience for a master. But for a student who is listening, it is not a it is not his or her experience. But when you understand this only, now you will use these verses, you will absorb the higher energy, and use it to get the direct experience. Otherwise, you will just merely, oh, okay, action springs from Brahman, excellent, and Brahma originates from the imperishable. Superb, very, very powerful verse, you will say, and then you will move on. What transformation has it given you? How has it changed your energy pattern from within? That is the question. So, we were seeing last week, know that action springs from Brahman. So, we were seeing, we just started exploring this word Brahma. So, the first dimension of Brahma means a supreme reality. So, when you read it along with the next line where he says Brahma originates from the imperishable, that is where the confusion comes. Because if Brahma, that is Brahman, is the supreme reality, infinite supreme reality, then where is the question of something higher than that which is imperishable? So, when he talks of Brahma, when you see it from this dimension, your perception of Brahman, your perception of God. So, even when these things are explained to you, you understand it with your mind only. That is your limited grasping of this infinite reality. So, if you take the ocean is vast. Now, supposing you take a bucket and you dip it in the ocean and you fill the bucket with water. Now, does the bucket contain the ocean? The answer is yes, but in a limited way. Whatever boundaries the bucket is set, now the ocean has been captured to that extent. If somebody comes and asks you, where is the ocean, if you show the bucket and say, this is only the ocean, there is the water inside the bucket. Now that's a very limited concept. Now he will understand it with reference to the limitations. Then you will tell him, no, this is not limited to this. Water is present everywhere, the ocean is so vast, you will say all that. So in the first line, when he talks of Brahma, it is like the water in the bucket, your understanding of Brahma. But then he says, no, listen, Brahma originates from the imperishable. And then in the 15th chapter, he will be saying, even imperishable is a limited concept when it comes to your mind. So that reality exists beyond the perishable and imperishable. So it is a slow expansion of your consciousness. So the ocean being so vast, if you capture the water with a bucket, it will have a size, it will have a particular, you can even give a name also, bucket water. What is the height? You can give the height. Because the water is flexible, it will take to the properties of the container which contains it. Supposing you bring a small mug and you take the water, that you can give a different name. Supposing a person brings just a spoon and takes a spoon of water. Now, that is also the ocean in a small way. So, everyone has his or her own concept of God. That is like one person is having a spoon, one person is having a mug, one person is having a bucket, one person having some other vessel. So according to the vessel, God seems to vary. The name is different, the properties are different. But if you go to the source of all this, the ocean, that is the infinite, that is vast, that is that supreme formless reality. So this dimension of Brahma will make you extremely humble, because whatever I know is limited by my finite equipments. That cannot be the ultimate truth. With this understanding in your background, when you keep studying all this, then it becomes Jnana Yoga. If you think, I have understood, I have captured what this is that, and with that attitude, if you are reading all this, it is no longer Jnana Yoga. It is just it will give a boost to your ego, that's all. Why is it that a true Jnani will be very humble? It is said, Vidya Vinayam Dadati. Knowledge will give you Vinaya, humility, natural humility. Why? Because a person who has this true wisdom understands that the equipments are limited. So an automatic humility will set in. So action springs from Brahma. If we take the first dimension, the Brahman, that is your understanding or your conception, whatever you conceive of the infinite, now action springs from that. That is the source. So even though you have not captured the whole ocean, you have captured a little bit of that. That is your divine source. Now he says the ultimate source of action is that divine energy which you have captured. So if you are able to make that connection, then all your actions will become godly. See, today there is no connection between your activities and the godliness which is there within you. Each one of you, you have that God principle within you. But there is no connection. No, he is making that connection. He is telling you how to convert every action into worship, every action into a divine action. So whatever your concept of God is, it does not matter. As long as you are humble and you know that this is limited, I'll keep doing my sadhana, it really does not matter. You start from where you are. But all you need to do is make a connection between your conception and your activities. Thereafter, you will not divide activities into material activities and spiritual activities and all that. All the activities will become spiritual. For example, you are seeing something. Now, what is behind this act of seeing? It is that supreme reality. Let it be your limited understanding of supreme, it doesn't matter. But something which is beyond all this. Now, when you begin to get that connection, yes, I am talking. What is that power which is making me talk? I am seeing. What is that power which makes me see? Another person is talking to you. What is that power which makes that person talk? What is the power behind this world? So when you start expanding your mind and penetrating, you will start forming a connection between that supreme power, whatever you have captured with your vessel, remember that, and the actions which you are performing. See, right now I am talking. Now, the various principles are being explained. Now, instead of focusing merely on the talk, what is that power which is making me talk? If one aspect is attuned to that, thereafter, does it really matter what this talk is about? Whether I am talking about a movie or whether I am talking about the so-called spiritual truths or whether I am talking about something else. The focus now has shifted from the talk to that which is making me talk. This is how you can refine your sadhana. So, you should do all your activities in the world. No shirking of duties. But when you are doing all your activities, one part of you should be focused on that supreme power which is making you act. Then that experience will become so divine. That is the whole principle of yajna. That's why in the Chandogya Upanishad they have taken the act of union between a male and a female, the physical union. And they have said that is so sacred. The yajna is happening. So this is the vision of these great yogis. If you are able to practice this truly, then even your sensual experiences will become divine. All your so-called worldly experiences will become divine. Whether the sensual experiences or emotional experiences or intellectual experiences, whatever be the nature of your experiences, your focus will be on that power which is behind those experiences. This is the sadhana which you need to practice and perfect. It cannot come at one go. Today, when you are in an experience, you will get lost in that. You are not experiencing that in the light of divinity. So you will get completely enmeshed in that. But a yogi is one who has mastered this technique of acting dynamically in the world, but keeping the focus on the source, which is Brahman, that supreme reality. So initially you will start with your limited understanding of what that supreme reality is. Start with that. Keep doing your sadhana. Your experience will start becoming wider and wider. And as you get established in the truth, your inspiration will become more, the power of your activities will become more, the connection will get deepened. So a full-fledged yogi, a self-realized master, is one who has merged his consciousness with that infinite in its purest form, and then all the activities are emanating from him. Then each and every activity will be a yajna. That's what is the spirit of the Upanishads. The moment you start breathing, that is the greatest yajna which is happening. When you're breathing in, that is the offering. When you're breathing out, now that becomes offering. It's very, very interesting. If you just observe, you breathe in, now what is kindled? Automatically your breathing out is kindled. Exhalation. And then that exhalation will kindle the inhalation. Immediately you will start inhaling. So you are offering the inhalation, the fire of exhalation is kindled. Then you offer that same exhalation, the fire of inhalation is kindled. It's a yajna which is happening. See, in the next chapter, we'll be seeing that. Here, he is giving you the principle of yajna. The next chapter, he will be giving you the higher application of yajna. How to convert actually each and every activity, including your breathing, into yajna. Thereafter, 24/7, you are doing sadhana only. If you are eating, a food is being offered, the fire is kindled within. If you are seeing something, again it's a yajna. If you are reading a book, it is yajna. If you are talking to someone, it is yajna. It's a very high state of advanced sadhana. But you start from your level. The first thing is appreciating this and getting inspired by this. If you can't even appreciate this, then where is the question of practicing it? So it may take years for you to practice and perfect this. Just as in classical music, they take many, many years. And even then they don't say, I have mastered the music fully. It's not possible like that. If you don't understand all these subtleties, you will say, oh sir, I have been doing sadhana for so many months, still my mind is running here and there. That's a very limited understanding of the higher truths. As the great philosopher, Schopenhauer, he said, it is no doubt difficult to find happiness within, but it is impossible to find it anywhere else. So it is no doubt difficult, but no other path is there. This is the only path, the inward journey. So know that action springs from Brahman, the supreme reality. So when you are acting per se, there is no power in that action. But when you connect it with the divine, with that supreme reality within you, now the action gains the divine power. So that will happen in stages. Initially you will talk, you will act in a very superficial way. Then when you connect it with your pranas, that is the first connection. Now that action will become more powerful. Any person who does or acts in the world with a lot of pranic energy will be extremely dynamic effortlessly. Then when you keep on doing your sadhana, you will be able to connect your emotions to your actions. Then that action gains more power. The emotions, the thoughts, with full awareness you will start acting. All these will add power to your actions. But then when you come to that level where you connect the supreme reality to your action, now that action starts getting the divine power. Whatever you say, whatever you do will have a very powerful impact on others. So you should remember the context here in this chapter is Karma Yoga. So even when he is talking about Brahman, the supreme reality, he is bringing it back to action, karma. So you should not forget that context. So this is the first dimension of Brahma. Now we will see the other dimensions also. Brahma also indicates the Vedas. Now some of you may find it very strange. How can Brahma be the Vedas? Now there are many references in the scriptures where they say that the Vedas, which are utterances, the inspirational utterances of the great yogis, The Vedas are like the breath of a human being. Like when we breathe, how the expression is there. Similarly, when God breathes, that is the Vedas. It's a poetic way of putting it, So, some masters, like for example, Adi Shankaracharya, Madhvacharya, when they have given their glossary, that is the Bhashya for this verse. Why I am saying glossary? Because they have only given they have just taken up a few things and they have indicated. They have not given a full explanation of these verses. It's not a full-fledged commentary. So they refer to Brahman as Vedas here. So they say action springs from Brahman, means action springs from Vedas, means the Vedas teach you how to act. And then the Vedas originate from the imperishable, like how from a human being the breath comes. So Vedas represent the higher wisdom. See, the Vedas are not restricted merely to the four Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Sama, Atharvana. They were also compilations only by Vedavyasa. What are the Vedas essentially? They are the higher principles of life, whether you call them Veda. Actually, Veda means knowledge, the literal meaning. The term Veda is not the name of a book. It means knowledge. So today, even let us say a person is there, he has not actually studied the Vedas. But let's say through meditation he has experienced the infinite. Now whatever he says will be a Veda only. Because he will be saying the same thing which the great masters gave in the Vedas, but in his own way. For example, if you take Ramana Maharishi, he didn't study the Vedas formally, but he just spoke from his experience. I am that self. Ask yourself, who are you? So in his own way, Nan Yar, when he said that, keep asking, Nan Yar means who am I? Now, it's the same Vedic truths only. So, this is another powerful dimension of Brahma. The Brahman represents the higher principles of life. So that is why he is saying know means Vidhi. You should know the higher principles, which is the very source of all your action. When the higher principles become the source of your actions, when you connect, when you make that connection, then your actions will become so powerful. So, see, some people have understood it in a very limited way. When these masters said Brahman means Vedas, how they have understood it is, therefore, you have to act according to the Vedas. They took the Vedas literally to mean only the four Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Sama and Atharvana. And they said you have to just exactly follow those rituals, then those kinds of activities will become yajna. That is a very limited understanding of this. That's not what the great masters meant. So their understanding of the Vedas itself was at a different level. That's what I'm saying. Where you will understand it with your limitations. So what is the origin of calling Brahman the Vedas? That also I'll give you from a yogic standpoint, because that will take this to a different level. See, Brahman means the infinite. The infinite has various aspects. One aspect of Brahman is called the vibrations or the expressions, and the subtlest expression is the sound. The sound is associated with space, which is the subtlest element. So, sound is the subtlest expression of that infinite reality. After that comes the other expressions. Like if you take the idol or earth, now that is the grossest expression. Now that sound, the primordial sound, was called Shabda Brahma. Shabda Brahma. See, this is a very deep yogic principle. Actually, our Yoga Sankirtan is based on Shabda Brahman only. Through the whatever the audio materials which have been given, if you keep on doing that, through that you will be taken to that Shabda Brahman level, where you will start feeling those divine vibrations of the infinite, and then through that it will take you to the ultimate infinite reality. All this will happen within you. Take you means not physically somewhere. It is a journey of your consciousness which we are talking about. So, even if you take the 4 Vedas, they are nothing but expressions of that divinity. The great masters, when they got attuned to that infinite reality, whatever they gave out was in line with Shabda Brahman, the divine sound of God. Actually, what is Shabda Brahma? It is nothing but Om. Why do we say Om is the basic Moola mantra from which all mantras have come? Because that is the subtlest expression of that supreme Brahman. So in the second line when he says Brahman originates from the imperishable, he is talking about that supreme Brahman. So all actions have come from this subtlest expression, which is Shabda. Thereafter it grossifies further and it becomes various activities. So action springs from Brahman, and this Brahman, that is the Shabda Brahman, originates from the imperishable, which is vast. So every day when you are doing your Yoga Sankirtan sadhana, what are you doing? You are exposing yourself to these divine vibrations which are springing from that Shabda Brahman. So how do we start the Yoga Sankirtan? It's in a very slow way, to attune yourself to that infinite. So when you learn to make this connection between the action and the subtlest expression of divinity, which is what they call as Shabda Brahma, now your whole personality will become divine. The actions will become so spiritual and divine. So the very interpretation that Brahma means Vedas actually comes from this yogic principle of Shabda Brahma. Shabda means word or sound in this context. So actually if you want to master the mantra shastra, it is enough if you master that mantra Om, because that is the source of all the mantras. So when you chant Om, you may chant it just merely with your lips, but when a master chants Om, that Om will be coming from that supreme infinite reality, as it were. It is an expression of that Shabda Brahma. So that is why when a master chants Om, it will automatically make you so meditative and it will start taking you within. So it is not per se just mere chanting of that. What is the source of the chant? That is the question. Anybody can just simply chant, but a yogi's chanting of the same Om will do something to you. It will go and touch the deeper, the deepest core of your personality. So whether you understand anything or not, if you just simply play the Yoga Sankirtan material with that humble attitude, with that bhavana, if you just close your eyes and when you hear that, now that itself can take you so deep within, and once you get to that source, thereafter there will be a tremendous transformation in your personality. So know that action springs from Brahma, Shabda Brahma, and that Shabda Brahma originates from the imperishable, which is that supreme reality in its totality. See, it's very interesting how all these dimensions fit in so beautifully. That's why I said the Sanskritam is a multi-dimensional language. We can't say this is right, that is wrong. It's not for intellectual debates and speculation like that. It is for feeling. Whatever aspect inspires you, you take that. If everything inspires you, now take everything. It's all up to you only. So, when we talk of the Vedas, kindly don't restrict them to, as if they are referring to some mere books. No. The Vedas are utterances of the great yogis who were merged totally with that infinite reality. And from that infinite reality came the Shabda Brahma, which is that Om mantra. And from that, the various Vedas were given, backed up by that energy, I am saying. So, in this verse, he is asking you to go to the source, not get caught up with these expressions. When you chant the word Om, the mantra Om externally, that has a little bit of power. When you chant the same Om mentally with your breath, that gains more power. When you inhale, Om, I am just dramatizing it verbally, but mentally. Then when you exhale, Om, it will create very powerful vibration. Then more and more deeper sadhanas are there in this yogic path. As we keep on moving further, I'll teach you all that. The higher empowerments, we'll be seeing all that. Every year, the Yoga Sankirtan empowerments are also being given. Now, all this is a preparation. The Shakti Yoga Sankirtan series will also be coming out. And when everything is there, then the picture will be complete. With that, we will be taking you to further higher levels. There subtle sadhanas will be taught to you. That's why it's important for you to attend all these empowerments, because they will give you so much of energy and they'll prepare you to go to the next level. So, know that action springs from Brahma. Now, we will see one more dimension. I'll just briefly give that. Of course, in the next session, I will again revise all this and give you some more subtlety. I'll add more subtlety to these. Now, in the first line, when he says, Karma Brahma Udbhavam, action springs from Brahma. In the next line, he says, Brahma originates from Akshara. Brahma Akshara Samudbhavam. So what we can clearly see when we compare these two lines is that there is something called akshara, imperishable. Now when there is something called akshara, what is the obvious implication? There is something called kshara, which is perishable. Akshara means imperishable, kshara means perishable. So that Supreme Brahman, the infinite reality, has these two aspects. Akshara, what we can call as Akshara Brahman, which is the higher aspect, and Kshara Brahman, which is the lower aspect. The perishable aspect, which is Kshara, and the imperishable aspect, which is Akshara. Both are different aspects of that same Brahma. So in the 15th chapter, that is what he will be covering in detail. Kshara, Akshara and Uttama Purusha. So if you, for example, if you take a pot which is made of mud, somebody asks you, what is mud? Can you please tell me what mud is? You try explaining it to him, he is not able to understand. Then you show him the pot and say, this is only mud. Now he immediately understands. He says, yes, I have understood. Now you ask him, can you tell me what is a mud? This is what is a mud. What are the properties of the mud? He will say the mud is round in shape. It's and it is this color. All he is actually defining the pot. He has not understood what mud is. Then now you wonder how to explain to him. What you do is you take a stone and you smash the pot, and then it becomes mud. Tell him, see, what I was referring to as mud was this only. What you have understood as mud is the Kshara aspect, which is perishable. This is only mud. Now he understands, because this is the Akshara aspect. Even the form of the pot can be destroyed, but the mud is still Akshara, imperishable, with respect to the pot I am saying. Then his understanding deepens. But now he thinks that mud means you need a pot. If you break a pot only, there can be mud. His Akshara understanding is also limited to that pot only. Then you say, no, mud exists everywhere, elsewhere also. That is the Uttama Purusha which he will be talking about in the 15th chapter. So here he is not using the word Kshara, but he is subtly indicating that aspect by using the higher aspect, which is Akshara. So know that action springs from Brahma is referring to Kshara Brahma, Kshara aspect, perishable aspect. And when he says Brahma originates from the imperishable, the Kshara originates from the imperishable aspect. Just as the pot is the mud, first statement. The second statement, you break the pot and you say, no, the pot itself is coming from the mud only. This is the second statement. So if you take your personality, what is the perishable aspect? Your own physical body first, then your prana, then your mind, then your intellect. All these are the Kshara Brahman. What is the imperishable aspect? The soul or the energy behind these equipments, that is the imperishable. So you are using this Kshara aspect, the body, the mind, the intellect, to act in the world. That is what he means. Know that action springs from Brahma. Brahma means the Kshara aspect. But this Kshara aspect originates from that energy, the imperishable Akshara aspect, that which never perishes within you. Even when a person dies, he has only dropped the physical body, that person continues to exist in a subtle form. So if you are able to connect your action all your activities to Brahman in this way, Kshara and then Akshara, then again you are divinizing your activities. It becomes a yajna. See, these dimensions are only different ways of divinizing your activity. Simple. Whatever action you are doing. So, Ramanujacharya took up this aspect. Shankaracharya and Madhvacharya, they said Brahman means Vedas. The source of that is Shabda Brahman, which they didn't explain there. As I told you, they have not written full-fledged commentaries. They were just here and there, some notes we can say. Ramanujacharya, he says Brahma means physical body. Now many people wonder how can it be the physical body. That is based on this yogic principle, Kshara and Akshara aspects of Brahman. So I am here using the yogic approach to teach you the very fundamentals. Once you become strong in that, you will not see any difference between what Shankaracharya said or Ramanujacharya said. They are only talking about different dimensions of that supreme reality. The followers are fighting today in the spiritual debates, whether Shankara said what that was right or Ramanuja said what this is right or Madhva, they are fighting. There is nothing to fight if you understand this in a deeper way. That's why the core principles need to be understood properly first. So you have that supreme reality, then your conception of supreme reality, then the Shabda Brahman, the subtle expression of that supreme reality, and then you have the Kshara and Akshara aspect, the perishable and the imperishable aspect. So your physical body is perishable. Actually, the deeper meaning of what Ramanujacharya gave was not merely the physical body, because our yogis say you have 5 bodies. The physical body, the pranic body, the emotional body, the wisdom body and the bliss body, the 5 sheets. So all of them are the Kshara aspect of Brahman, and it is from them all your actions are coming. So the whole idea, whichever dimension you take, it doesn't matter. The whole idea is to connect your activities to that supreme infinite reality. As long as you understand that fundamental principle, you will not get confused with all these various interpretations and all that. So these sampradayas or the various divisions were formed by the followers based on their limited understanding. But if the same thing is understood from the standpoint of the foundational principles, then you will see that all the masters are talking about that same infinite reality, but different aspects of that infinite reality. Why? Because see, they had a particular purpose, and they were talking to some people who may have required that at that particular time. So they gave that out. So in the yogic approach, we don't conform ourselves to any particular sampradaya or any particular practice. We go to the very source, that is the ocean, the infinite reality. So where is all this and where is your concept of God? Just think about it. Some people ask, sir, why is God punishing me? Why is God giving me this suffering? It's all a very limited concept. One girl posed this question, during a pandemic time, many people, many lives went away. If God is truly existing, then why many lives were taken away? Now that is your idea of God. You are thinking God means one who will just protect. No. God has 5 functions, the infinite has 5 functions, and one function is destruction. That was what was symbolized as Rudra and Kali. So if the world has to exist, the creation, the destruction, everything have to happen in a balanced way. Sometimes this power will be high, sometimes that power will be high. So your limited concept of God is something you may have picked up, and then you question. Oh, like how some people are, I'm doing sadhana for 3 months, still some problem has come into my life. So your idea of sadhana is you're thinking the moment I start doing sadhana, no problem should come. That's a very limited understanding. Lord Krishna had to face so many problems. He was an avatar, no? Lord Rama, how many challenges he had to face? Sadhana helps you to face those challenges effectively. So in every sense of the term, when you go to the root principles and gain this ancient eternal wisdom in a full-fledged way, then only you will begin to understand the deeper imports of the scriptures. Otherwise, you will just get stuck with one idea, and then there will be a lot of quarrels happening. See, there are many people who just keep on quarreling over these things. See, ultimately, what is your aim in getting into spirituality? To read any scripture, whether it's a Bhagavad Gita, whatever scripture, it is to end all quarrels. It is not to increase quarrels. So in this yogic approach, we are getting to the root. So all these masters, they gave out certain portions of the truth which would have been necessary for that particular audience to whom they were addressing. It may have been necessary for those particular times. One master may have emphasized on bhakti, devotion, if he had found that the devotion was becoming very less among people. One master may have come and stressed on jnana, if he had found that people had become very mechanical. One master may have come and emphasized on karma, action, if he had found that people were becoming lazy. So depending on the context, they gave out certain aspects of the truth. So the best is to use the yogic approach to go to the root principles. Then there is absolutely no confusion whatsoever. Okay, so we'll stop with this today. Very subtle level. That is today, whatever we was given was at a very subtle level. If you can attune yourself to this, it'll transport you to a different level of consciousness during your sadhana. So in the next session, we will continue with this. We will go into more depth. I'll give you probably one more dimension. There are many dimensions. Out of that, just a few have been given to you. That should be more than enough for you to delve deep into this. Okay, so now we'll do the Nididhyasana. Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. With every breath, I am becoming more and more relaxed. Feel the divine vibrations. With every breath, I am going deeper and deeper into myself. Beyond my physical body, beyond my pranas, beyond my emotions and thoughts, I exist as the pure consciousness. My consciousness is infinite and divine. From this moment onwards, I choose to connect all my actions to that infinite supreme reality, which is the ultimate source. I am Swayam Prakashit, self-illuminating. Offer your gratitude to God Supreme. Offer your gratitude to your Guru and all the holy masters. Wriggle your fingers, your toes. Open and close your palms a few times. Rub your palms together to create a warmth. And cup your eyes with your palms. Gently rub your eyes, your cheeks, forehead, the top of your head, the back of your head, your neck, and slowly open your eyes. Welcome back. It was a very powerful session today. The ultimate truth given out by the great masters in its purest form. So verses like these really increase your inspiration, and they make you so deep. The effect which it will have in your life is not quantifiable. Okay? So reflect on this. If you had found it a little heavy, you can listen to it again a few times so that you start vibrating at the frequency of this verse. Then only it will become easy for you to assimilate. Okay, we'll continue further in the next session. Thank you very much. Hari Om.